Okay, so welcome everybody to episode 30 of Demon Media. I want to make sure I said that as soon as I could so I didn't forget the number. So, as always, recently, I guess, we have the lovely, uh, oh no, technically I'll be pointing down, but I can't point because I don't have my camera on. So, we have, the lovely Jen dot cosplay 45 here with us today.
Hello, everyone.
Introduce yourself before,
Okay,
and then I'll
before we
introduce the
start.
topic.
Sure thing. So my name's Jen. I've been on the show quite a few times. I go by she, her. If you want to check out more of my cosplays and what I do, you can find me YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Jen Period Cosplays 45. And I'm also on Cosplay Tea Time. I'm the founder and host of that as well. So definitely be sure to check out a fun, loving community of cosplayers bringing you podcasts and all that. And yeah, I am a Ruby nerd and enthusiast. I love the show so much. So thank you, Springy, for having me to talk about today's topic.
Yes. Um, excuse me. So today's topic is we shall we recap like I said in when we did volume 8 and 9. We're going to be talking about Ruby Justice League. I think it was Heroes and Huntresses Part 1. I do believe that is the full legal title, or it's Huntresses and Heroes, or it's one of those two. It's fine.
Okay.
Um, but yeah. Firstly, before it became a movie, there was comic books based off of an idea of Ruby X Justice League. Back and these came out back in the spring and summer of 2021. I do believe they're still going on as of right now as
Mhm.
well, mainly
Yep.
featuring the this version of the Justice League because the Justice League
Mhm.
is changes very frequently. Being Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Cyborg, Green Lantern, and Vixen. uh, Not the reindeer. Where they all are just in remnant. They've always been there in the comics. But the primary difference, and we'll get into a bigger, you know, talk about it, obviously, is that these characters they have these brand new designs now, seeming younger and everything, like the main characters, Team Ruby and Team JNR, because not orange, it's not juniper. Uh, so
Oh.
sad. But yeah. Instead of that, they are now. They got sent into this world. By means that we will talk about later on. So it's not a big spoiler for it later. But yeah, these characters have not always been here. These are the first introductions they have to Grimm, first introduction to Team Ruby, to everything like that. And everybody is in their Team Ruby and Team Ju- Junior. I guess
Ruby
it could be
Jr.
Junior.
Yeah.
That just sounds like it's chibi all over again. Uh,
Oh.
are all in their Volume One outfits. Um, which made everybody very confused when it came out, because like Yang in her Volume One outfit with a robot arm.
Yeah. Yeah, it
That made
was a little bit
everybody really
confusing.
confused and very upset. But once you see the movie, it makes sense why that happened, why it's like this,
Mhm.
and we'll discuss it here in a little bit.
Mhm.
But before we get into the story of it, I wanted to show off the technically, quote unquote, in the Rubyverse, the new characters to said Rubyverse. Not new characters as in new, all brand new ones, but they're new to this universe, technically. First, we have Superman, Clark Kent. I put a picture of him in primarily in the movie, and also when we saw flashbacks to what happened, how they got there, and all that. He is actually played by Chandler Riggs. Anybody who's the fans of The Walking Dead know him as Coral. Coral.
Mike Carl.
Uh, but yeah. Um, do we want to say anything about their designs as we're going through the characters, so we
Uh,
don't like interrupt ourselves, or do we want to save that to the end?
we can save it for the end.
Okay, we'll just go backwards in order because of that's how the Google Docs works. And I just want to say everybody's like comic Um, outfits are very standard, like Superman's very standard. You will see here that Wonder Woman Diana Prince is also a very standard Wonder Woman esque outfit as well. Played by Natalie Lind. Yeah, probably butchered that name. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
it's all good. It's all good.
Um, Also, fun fact about Wonder Woman is that this is the first time we actually see muscles on a woman in the RWBY
Yeah.
style.
Yes, and we love it.
Yes,
Appreciate.
yes. Then we have the man, the bat, the legend, Batman, Bruce Wayne, being played by Nat Wolff, who was from the Naked Garage Band on Nickelodeon,
Hmm.
which was shocking to read about. Next up, we have the Flash, Barry Allen, voiced by David Arrigo Jr. Sadly, not Grant Gustin from the Flash CW show, but it makes sense why not, because they are supposed to be sounding younger. So yeah. Next up is Green Lantern Jessica Cruz, not Hal Jordan, not Kyle Rayner, not the other two. I can't remember their names off the top of my head. Yeah. Uh yeah, and the internet has really fallen in love with this character, this version of the character.
Oh,
I have
yeah.
noticed, and she is being played by Jenny Torado.
Hmm. Yep,
Yeah, and then we have Vixen, Mari Metcalf.
I believe
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah.
and being played by a name. Going to butcher it. Don't hate me. Oz Ozzy Oz. Aka. I don't know. I'm
You
sorry.
tried. Yay.
I'm moving on. Next one is Cyborg Victor Stone, being played by True Valentino. And then, technically, this next thing is a spoiler, but this whole video is a spoiler.
Hmm.
The main villain being called Kilgore. No, we did not censor it. That is how you spell his name.
Hmm.
Also being played by True Valentino, which was
Oh,
a very
nice.
interesting thing to see.
Hmm.
And yeah, I guess with that, because that's all the main characters, the main
Hmm.
quote unquote new characters to the RWBYverse and everything.
Hmm.
And yeah, there are mentions of Brainiac and other uh and other DC villains when they're trying to think of who could have done this to us, um
Hmm.
and all that. But yeah, with that, I guess we can just go right on into the film. The film came out very shortly after Volume 9 ended. It was like Volume 9 ended September, not September.
September. What?
Whew, we're in the future now, man. Um, it came out, Volume 9 ended on a Saturday, and this came out that Monday, or that Tuesday, or
Hmm.
something like that. It came out on
Yeah.
digital, it came out in stores. Actually, it came
Hmm.
out in stores, at least like on that day because I happened to go to Walmart that day and I found it. A superheroes and Huntsmen. That's what it's called because it's right there.
Good.
Part one.
Woohoo.
Um, but yeah. Uh, it came out. I enjoyed it a lot. I know a lot of people didn't love a few things here and there. I've heard some quit. Mainly, most of the criticism was just with Batman. This is what I've heard about. With
Yeah.
like, they're like, this is not how he would act. Why does he have wings? When the comic books
Hmm.
came out, why does he have ears? Why does he have bat ears? It's like, it's fine.
Uh,
He's Batman. We all know he's
yeah.
Batman. Just leave him alone. Uh,
Oh.
leave poor man alone. Um, but we're just gonna get right on into it now. With the story. The story starts with us not hanging out with like the main RWBY crew or seeing what happened to cause this whole thing to happen. We start off with Superman, Clark Kent, waking up in the world of Remnant. Um, and Grim running around with Ruby and Yang fighting them, just fight, 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 and all that. And Superman's very confused. He's never seen a Grim before. Why are these children fighting these wave of massive monsters? And why does his outfit look very different from the spandex we are used to? Uh,
Oh gosh.
and everybody gets kind of beat around. Ruby checks on Yang, Yang checks on Ruby, back and forth a lot. Uh, Superman, we see that the Grim are now have laser vision, which is very different.
Mhm.
Because if you don't know Ruby and you're here because of Justice League, the Grim don't do that.
No.
Like the most a Grim does, other than claw hit you in the face a lot of the time, is they have like an aura type of thing, not the same thing as their aura, totally different things. To like give you negative emotions more than anything else. But that's like the like
Mm.
right gen, other than like their height
Yeah.
and just general damage, that's the only major superpower other than like the Nightmare Grim in
Mhm.
Ruby Ice Queendom, right? Those are the only two
Yeah.
main
Those would
crazy ones,
be. Yeah, they don't really have a whole lot of attack methods, so
other
it's
than
just bite,
Claw, Two Face,
claw. Yeah.
and Super, Superman, because that's how he goes by in most of this movie. He tries to fly, but he can't, which was very shocking to him because Superman is normally very able to fly, and pretty much
Mhm.
his only powers that he has are his heat vision and minor super strength, not to the same extent that he normally has. As at least what I noticed when going over the
Mhm.
movie. And he was very confused. And it seems like he still has the when he's in direct sunlight from the yellow sun, he heals faster and his aura replenishes and everything. And Ruby and Yang plan on going back to Beacon because Beacon's alive. Um,
Yeah.
and figuring out what happened. Why are these Grim shooting lasers? Superman, and then they're like, so what's your name? And he's like, call me Superman. They're like, that's stupid. Okay, I guess you just call me Clark. Okay then, moving on. And yeah, they start heading to Beacon, where they're planning on talking to Professor Ozpin.
Mhm.
One interesting part before we get into the next primate chunk of story is that we see that Yang's arm, when it got hit, actually malfunctioned for a second.
Mhm.
We've
Yeah.
never seen that before. It's like popped on and now it's working like it's supposed to. We've never seen it malfunction any way like that before. So there's also another special thing that happened in this movie as well.
Mm.
So the next thing that happened as Ruby Yang and Superman are traveling. That's such a weird sentence. Can we all just agree that that's a
What?
weird sentence? Ruby Yang and Superman all are traveling to Beacon.
I mean, it's the movie.
It's the movie. So then we flash to a different part of Remnant, being in Menagerie. I know how to say it now. With Blake and her mother Callie, and there's a lot of worries. Mom worries about daughter type of thing. And then they hear a knock at the door, hearing that Serena Khan ha- uh, has died. But to Blake, she flashes back, and that happened a while ago.
Mhm.
So, uh, after some commotion, we see that Wonder Woman appears, Diana Prince, who frees herself from the handcuffs that the Faunus put on her to kind of try and walk her up to the palace of
Right.
of the Belladonnas, and it was very easy to do. And Wonder Woman just kind of just slaps the guards around a little bit, uh, and then Blake blocks her mother and with her weapon in hand, being like, "What are you doing here? Stopping a problem? What the hell?" Um, Um, and basically Blake is wondering if Wonder Woman is fauna, and Wonder Woman's like, "What the hell is that?" And Blake explains, basically a person with only one animal trait, which I don't care. My OC has two. I don't care. Uh, but the woman asks for help, and they listen. Blake offers help offers to call her team, and Callie comes in saying that the cross continental transmit system, the CTT, is down and there's no communication. Nevertheless, Blake and Wonder Woman head for Beacon as well. And now to the next chunk. Now we're in a whole different area again. We are now
Mhm.
in Atlas. Um, and she's complaining to her father, Jacques. Ugh. More like
Mm.
Jacques. Ugh. About the CTT tower being down. Um, we see that obviously some sort of party is going on because if
Mhm.
Jacques not being a racist, he's throwing a party. Um, and then we see nearby, Weiss finds a bat suit, which is weird, and tosses it into a nearby store. It seems to be like a janitor's closet type of room.
Mhm.
And then Batman Bruce Wayne is there saying how the rich are the same in every universe. Batman says he would rather hide, and Weiss mentions her favorite spot is the Dust Lab, and the assumptions is because of her weapon and how it is used. Um, Weiss talks about dust and what it is because Batman's like, yeah, dust. That's a thing to use to have a fortune over.
Mhm.
Okay. And Weiss starts getting a little suspicious because everybody in the world of Remnant knows what dust is, and it's not just a thing that collects on different pieces of furniture. Um, Jacques then says that there is a thief who has stolen his lab key. Batman tries to escape, but Weiss stops him attempting to escape. Batman says he has to get to said lab, and then he figures out that he has wings all of a sudden. He's like,
Mhm.
very weird. And then the piano player gets a little freaked out and starts playing some epic piano music. Um, and since Batman doesn't usually fly with organic or wings, he flies around and hits a lot of things. Uh,
Mhm.
and then falls to the ground before being caught and sent to the jails inside of Schnee Manor, I guess.
I
Okay.
guess
I didn't know that's a thing, but you know. But
it's a thing.
yeah. Um so back at Beacon with Yang, Ribby, and Superman, who take the elevator up. Both girls are very tired because they're running the whole way. Superman asks about his semblance and aura, and then asks about how the place is empty. And Ruby says Professor Ozpin always has the answers,
Mhm.
very weirdly. And then Blake and Wonder Woman is just already there.
Yep.
And intros are made, introducing everybody to everybody. Says that they were fighting something mechanical and big back in their world. Yang questions how long it took for Blake and Wonder Woman to get there, and then everybody was very confused. They're like, "Okay, wait, how did we get from a menagerie that took like half a volume to get to
Mhm.
in volume 4
Yes.
to and then coming and showing up an hour max later and beat people who were already in the area. People they started noticing that weirdness very uh fucking very close to the beginning of this conversation. There we go. That's wasn't the word I was
Mhm.
thinking of, but whatever. I'm working with it.
It's all good.
Blake pretty much talks about how everything seems wrong the towners. The girls know that Beacon fell. Wonder Woman wonders if it was their fault. Ozpin arrives, but it's all glitchy. If you're a fan of FNAF, you know glitching is never good. And then turns into Oscar after they're like, "Wait, you're dead." Zoop. Now he's small. Um, and explaining of who Oscar and Ozpin is, Wonder Woman picks up Oscar by the
Oh.
collar, slams him against the wall. This poor fake child, and or sorry, a pillar, and Yank comments on strength and make an apology to the jealous Blake, and Ozpin instructs them to follow him to the training room. Ruby sees a ring on the desk but leaves with the others. Dun dun dun. What is that ring? It's very green and shaped like a lantern. Um. So next, I guess section. I guess it's like all the first section, but there's a lot of like moving of areas very quickly.
Mhm.
Then we see Mr. Flash, Barry Allen, Green Lantern, Jessica Cruz, and Vixen, Mari McCabe. Cabe. Yeah, that's I'm gonna say it. And being taught by Glinda, and pretty much learning about auras and semblances and dust and all that as per our normal lesson. And then we zoom over to see Jean, Ren, and Nora, and Cyborg, Victor Stone. And also we see that Cyborg has little helpers as well. A little helper flying around, which is very very cute. Uh, then there's an explanation of auras and semblances. Green Lantern cannot connect with their semblance. Flash explains dust. Vixen is says something smells different.
Mhm.
Superman said the sun felt different, so it's obviously something's off. And now Walter is
Mhm.
cuddling with my foot and trying to mark my
Oh.
toes.
Oh.
Um, yes, because that's also part of the story. Um, Ren says Cyborg was freaking out earlier. Cyborg says to Ren if he hasn't learned to adapt to things from childhood trauma. Nora thinks that's funny. Uh, and Ren seemed very jealous. It's like,
Mhm.
mm.
Mhm.
They were definitely setting up. They did that on purpose.
Yeah.
Um, and then a fight between Team Junior, I guess technically would be the right one, even
Mhm.
though it's -1R. Is fighting with Cyborg, uh, Cyborg, Flash, Vixen, and Green Lantern, and they're starting to fight each other. It's fair because Green Lantern is just in the corner, somewhat crying, not realizing
Oh.
how to do things yet. Um, Cyborg says the line most
Mhm.
early RWBY fans say. I'm still not sure what the difference is about when talking about auras and semblances and everything.
Mhm.
Vixen says that she's also missing her necklace, which is primarily how she activates her powers in the first place. Green Lanterns, as we know from when Ruby and the gang left Osmond's office, that she is also missing her ring, and that's where the ring is at this moment in time. Um, ba, 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 ba. They try to shoot Nora with lightning. That wasn't a good, smart plan. So then Nora just pretty much beats up all four of them. Pretty much, at least they gives a good
Mhm.
smack to at least a few of them. Ren helped Flash fall, and he's fine. But then he's like, "No, I'm in pain." And note here says that Jen loves this line.
I love that line. Ren's just like, he's fine. And then the Flash, like, from like his little corner, he's like, he is in pain. I was like, I love that.
Shortly after that very funny line, Superman and the others arrive in the training room. Ruby says it was weird, and Blake says her mom said weird stuff as well. John gets confused about Oscar and Ozpin because now they're just glitching up and down.
Mm-hmm.
And asks how old he is. Nora says, in normal years or in ancient possessed years.
Yeah.
Uh, and then Vixen says she is glad to see, not Batman, Superman and Wonder Woman, and now they're
Mm-hmm.
also there. And they basically talk about that for a hot second. Um, and that how Vixen did not like being a teen in the first place when it first happened, and now it's very weird that everybody is now teenage aged.
Mm-hmm.
Because like we can all assume that they were like oldest late 20s, like or late 20s,
Like,
no, like early 20s. Like that's like
yeah.
the like 20 was like their max maybe for like the oldest ones there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, intros are made. Nora's sassy skirt comment.
Yes.
I'd
I'd
like to
like
see
to see
you
you
try.
try.
Justice League lists off a bunch of villains that could have caused the situation, like I kind of talked about earlier. Superman says they are still missing someone. Wonder Woman asks, "Where's Batman?" And then, perfect timing. Yeah, my section's almost over. Batman is in a cell and tries out his new wings and night vision slash X-ray vision slash echolocation vision. And my only note about this cell is it's that big for him to practice flying?
I mean, Schnee jail. I mean, it's got to be roomy.
I mean, I guess, but like they're also like most of them, or sorry, one of them is like a really bad person. I don't think he would make a cell that big. I think he's bigger than the one they shoved him in later on, right?
I feel like it. Yeah.
Oh god. Okay, sorry, but wife's arrive wife arrives and Batman and then they start talking about how he needed the key to figure out the dust. He breaks out of the cell by using his semblance to reveal a crack in the floor. He, the notes have he in all caps,
Oops.
spits
My bad.
onto the spot, and the cell disconnects, as in just kind of shuts down because it's just like a see-through wall. For the Marvel fans out there, it's like that cage they put Loki in Asgard type of thing. And yeah, and then Weiss leads him to the lab. Very short paragraph for that one. Now we're getting near the end of the beginning, which is a weird sense. Makes sense once. If you
End at
see
the
the
beginning.
if you see the beginning of if you look at the Google Doc I'm looking at, it makes sense. Uh, back at Beacon, the group talk about where Batman could be, finally figuring out he could be at Atlas with Weiss. Green Lantern thinks she is useless without her ring, and Ruby remarks she saw a ring in the office. Do you think that's the same one? Maybe. Um. Ba, 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 ba. John hears a familiar voice, which made my Arcos heart cry.
Huh.
Um. And Ren's voice brings him back to reality. Back to reality. Oh. Sorry. Um. Wonder Woman tries to take charge. Yang says she is not going with someone who's never been in Remnant before. This basically a fight just starts. Like a very big argument just starts going at this type of thing. Where like everybody's fighting each other, being like, no, I should be the leader. No, they should be the leader. I'm only here because he wrote me into this type type of thing.
Yep. Pretty much.
Uh uh destroy. Nora talks about how the Grimm are soulless creatures and how they are designed to destroy humanity. Tries to passively tries tries to pacify.
Yeah, like try to like calm everybody down.
I have
Like trying
never heard
to.
it been used like that ever.
Really?
Not in.
Isn't that how you use it?
Just so everybody knows, Jen wrote the notes for this.
Oh gosh. Blame! Put the blame on me.
No. I never I've
I've
never seen
watched
it
the
used
movie
like that
like
before.
5 times.
It's
Yeah,
fine.
to
Uh,
quell the anger, agitation, or excitement of
huh.
is what that word means.
Ruby tries to pacify the others. It sounds like she's like running around just doing pacifiers into their mouths, just like
Deleted
zoom.
scenes.
Um,
Oh
now
gosh.
you will all be quiet. Um,
Oh gosh.
Lindsay Jones, I'm coming for your job. Um, but Superman takes charge because in this universe he is the boss of the Justice League, it seems, or yeah, and says how one group will go to the Green Lantern, one will go looking for Bruce, and one will start fighting the Grimm that are outside and causing problems. Which Ruby sighs and says that is what she was trying to say, and I sigh because my cats are in here being a problem. Um,
Oh no.
Yang, Blake, and Wonder Woman go to Atlas, Green Lantern, and John go to the office, and Ruby, Superman, Nora, Ren, Cyborg, Vixen, and the Flash all go to the forest where the Grimm were last seen. And now we're on to the middle part where Jen will speak. But first, Jen, is there anything you want to say about the first beginning part that I talked about before you go into your section?
Uh, Not really. You did a good job explaining everything. 'Cause there was a lot going on in the beginning and stuff. So,
It was a lot of introductions.
yeah, that's what I feel like. It was just a lot of who are you? Well, I'm this person. Are you from here? No.
Oh,
Like, it was a lot of that. So, yeah,
yeah,
to like work through all that, it was definitely a lot. I know there's like things in parentheses. Those are kind of my notes, but you don't
yeah.
have to read those. But yeah,
So,
I like the interactions of the characters and stuff, all that building up.
Jen note 1. When Nora says, is normal years or ancient years? Definitely a head canon they had this
Yes.
conversation before. But go
I
through it.
definitely feel like, yeah, just like when Jean's getting confused, like, wait, Ozpin's here, but Oscar's here. Like, how could two be the same thing? So they're trying to figure out, like, well, how old is Oscar? It's like you never asked him how old he is. Like, he's got to be like 14, 15 years old. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then of course, like Ancient Possessed Years is Ozpin. If you've seen RWBY Volume 6, you'll know that Ozpin was originally Ozma, who gains immortality to help save the world and all this stuff. So I feel like at some point Jean, Nora, and Ren have had a discussion about Oscar and whatnot, and they're just like, well, how old do we treat him? Do we treat him like Ozpin? Like, how old do you think he actually is? So I definitely had that head canon before that they've had a conversation about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what that meant. Alrighty, so is it my turn?
Yes, it is.
My turn,
Your
my
turn to
turn.
start with the middle, because I did not want to do the
Yay!
middle.
Okay. Oh, okay. Alrighty, so here we go. Into the middle we go. Alright, so now we're going back to Weiss and Batman, and I do want to point out too that like a lot of these like movies, even in RWBY, in the books as well, you're gonna get a lot of like back and forth scenes, especially with so many characters to cover. So it doesn't just follow one character all the time. It'll go hither and yon. So, all right, but we do have Weiss and Batman, who is now dressed in his superhero suit. They're heading down to the lab, but when they arrive to where the lab doors are, they notice that the creatures of Grimm are blocking the path. And not only that, the lab is missing. So everything that could go wrong goes wrong. Batman says that the lab is hidden and the Grimms are illusions. Weiss starts to fight the Grimm with her trusty knight. Batman finds out the Grimm are eating the dust, and Weiss finds out the Grimm are deadly illusions, that they were quite real. Batman attempts to use the key card but gets zapped, and yet he sees a crack where the door is. So there is a door, it's just very well hidden. Batman uses Weiss's weapon after Weiss makes a cage with glyphs, which was pretty cool to see, and Batman uses her weapon to get into the crack and make the door. Weiss notices a Grimm pellet on the ground and grabs it. The two arrive into the lab safely, And Weiss says to Batman that it feels like he belongs in the world of Remnant. Alrighty, so now back in the forest, yay. The larger group, they're making their way downtown towards the Creatures of Grimm. So, Cyborg goes up to Nora and asks for her help, but Ren butts in and gets jealous, saying that they are all a little busy. Nora says she can answer for herself. We stand this queen. Cyborg and Ren fight over how Ren is talking more so than usual, which Cyborg says he's used to working with a strong silent type and Ren is no Batman. Ruby says to Cyborg he is acting like a kid, and Cyborg says that he is not, that he is trying to avoid certain doom. Ruby cuts in and says that they are trying to take care of everyone and each other. Cyborg responds with, "Who do you think you are?" to Ruby, which everybody is just aghast at that comment. Cyborg knows it's not cool, and then says he doesn't feel as useful and leaves the group to go clear his head a bit. And you gotta walk it off.
Mm-hmm.
Ruby feels that being a leader is a bit too much at times, which Superman says it can feel like that too, even as an adult. But Ruby laughs, saying it is hard to take advice from him when he is Yang's age. Cyborg comes back saying that they have a problem. Dun dun dun. Now we're going to go over to, I guess, a newly formed group, which is Jean and the Green Lantern, and they're back at Ozpin's office looking for the ring. Jean knows how, supposed to be a G, Green Lantern feels about not having activated her semblance because he was once in that position before.
Mm-hmm.
Jean said that a friend believed in him in order to activate his semblance. So Green Lantern decides to sit on the floor. And Jean comes over like, we're doing floor time. Yay, my favorite activity. So the Green Lantern, she kind of meditates for a bit and goes to like a white open space. And Jean also helps. Jean now has his semblance, which he didn't have back at Beacon, but what he gained throughout the travels and whatnot, which is aura amp. So he's able to amp up her aura to help enhance whatever her semblance may be. Jean asks for Green Lantern to explain where she is, and Green Lantern says that she didn't want the ring, she didn't want its power, but that she learned to eventually accept it. Jean is not now in the white space with the Green Lantern, so somehow he got sucked into where she is and realizes that they're not in Ozpin's office. They realize it's an illusion and they see a seer Grim. So this is a Grim with like long pointy tentacles, and I despise these things more than any other Grim. This is a Grim I do not like. Jean tries to fight the Grim, but he gets caught in the tentacles and starts to see flashbacks of Pyrrha. Green Lantern uses Jean's shield to slice away the tentacles, freeing him, and after she throws it, it creates a crack on the wall of the space. They then escape into the space, into the beacon hallway, and then it cuts out. It's like, this poor boy has gone through so much this year. Please stop.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, and now, oh, we have another group. So we have Blake and Yang on a ship with Wonder Woman. They're headed towards the city of Atlas. Wonder Woman tries to fly with her gauntlets and within the airship, but she doesn't do a very good job at that. Blake and Yang kind of giggle at her, so adorable. Wonder Woman says that they have to stay focused, especially after hearing Blake say that the Grimm are attracted to negative emotions. Wonder Woman also has flashbacks as well, but she kind of covers it up, saying that, it felt nice to be there, that she likes her team, but they don't understand what it is to be a warrior in like her ways. So Blake says her and Yang used to be the same way, but Wonder Woman says that she grew up in a different setting and kind of explains like, well, this is the way to be a warrior and all that. So we have a convo about that until the airship is hit with Grimm attacking. So Yang goes ahead and flies the ship, while Blake and Wonder Woman go out onto the airship to then fight the Grimm. This was one of my favorite fighting sequences within the film. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
there will be like others later, but like this one was just like too cool to like look away from. So, and the background music was also very good. Wonder Woman manages to summon her lasso and takes on a manticore, which is like a lion type of Grim with a serpent for a tail. Once again, the Grim are trying to eat the fire dust. They're trying to eat and attack all the dust. Wonder Woman realizes that she can only use one of her weapons at a time. So she can either use her lasso or her flight, I believe. So it's kind of like one or the other. During the fight, Blake hits the windshield and tells Yang to pitch the ship. I don't know what that means. I don't know how to fly. Um, but, Yang does as she says, and Blake is able to help Wonder Woman finish fighting off most of the Grim, and they all manage to fly away safely. Alrighty, then it cuts back to Jean and the Green Lantern for a very quick moment where they're in the hallway where they escaped from the white space. And there's kind of this questioning, like, what is real? What isn't real? What are we doing? Jean begins to hear Pyrrha's voice again. The Green Lantern says, like, she can't make doors, she can't figure out how to get out of the hallway into, like, a destination that seemed a bit more familiar. So Jean calls out to Pyrrha for help, and a door appears. Magic door. But before we can figure out where that door goes to, we are now back in the forest. Yay, we're jumping around. Where we see a large Grim appear, which is actually a wyvern. So it's like a dragon type. And I like how most of the teams get like really upset. They're just like, whenever somebody calls it a dragon, they're like, wyvern! It's like, yeah, it's a wyvern. Alrighty, so there is all kinds of fighting. Ruby leads the charge saying, like, we fight, this is what we've been training to do. And of course, my girl Nora is the first one there, smashing away at Grim. And Ren is by her side, helping as well. Ren and Oh yeah, and then like during that part, Ren and Cyborg were not as friendly before, but all of a sudden they were like best buddies in one moment. It was like a little weird. I was like, are you guys friends or not? Just make up your mind. Um, I also noticed that Superman had like a smaller hammer weapon, like not huge like Nora's hammer or anything like that, but just like a smaller weapon. And he's flying around trying to fight the Grim.
Mm-hmm.
Nora gets a bit carried away, a little bit too gung ho. Um, and Ron calls after her. Cyborg helps her, try to get to the ground safely so she doesn't break her aura. But Nora lets them both know that she can handle herself, which again, yes, queen. Some of the folks have noticed that the Flash seems badly hurt. He's not running around helping as much. He seems in pain on the ground. So Vixen asks, what happened to Flash, to Ruby. Ruby kind of looks over at her like, what do you mean? But in her hesitation, she gets knocked down by a Grim. I believe she loses some of her aura, and Vixen tells her to pay attention. And it was like, but you asked questions, she looked over at you, so it's technically your fault that she got hurt. So, they're trying to figure out, what would take the big Grim down. Ruby has flashbacks of using her silver eyes. So, silver-eyed warriors are revered to have uh, powerful powers. Oh gosh, can't talk anymore. Very, very powerful abilities and whatnot. So, but yet Ruby's like, this doesn't feel like a normal Grim, meaning she can't really activate her Silver Eyes to its full potential. So therefore there becomes a plan. So Nora and Cyborg need to create an electrical charge. So they go off to go get ready to charge up. Nora says to Cyborg, like, be quiet and take my hand. And Ren gets all jealous. It's like, oh, this poor boy.
Mm-hmm.
So Nora and Cyborg, they manage to charge up. He starts to swing her. We see like these like scar-like things, kind of like the same scars you see later in Volume 8. So she manages to hit the Grim with the hammer. It seems to go down. Pierre's defeated. Everyone's catching their breath, like, all right, we got this, we got this. But then as soon as you think the fight's done, the Grim regenerates into two separate Grim. And it was like, oh boy, howdy. Alrighty, but before we can figure out what's really going on, we're back with Batman and Weiss, who again are in the lab safely, and they're setting up a program to detect Grimm. Weiss brings up the pellet, saying that Grimm usually completely dissolves, so it's pretty abnormal for a Grimm to like remain. But then I was thinking too, I was like, well, the whale Grimm did, but it was a pretty big beast, so
Mm-hmm.
um, but yeah, usually they would just completely dissolve into the air. Weiss says they will be able to figure out where their teams are once they detect like a large presence of Grimm. Batman sighs and says, what if it was you and me, babe? Like, oh, what if we're the only ones left in this world type of thing? And I was like, no. So, and then once again, Weiss offers for him to stay on Remnant.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So now we go back to Jean and Green Lantern. They manage to enter the classroom safely. We see a familiar face. We see Pira Nikos appear. She goes over and hugs Jean, saying that that she is real because Jean's just like, are you real? This isn't real. Like, what's going on? Pira offers to help. After some persuasion, Green Lantern accepts Pyrrha's help, and she shows them to another door. Green Lantern and Jean enter, but then Pyrrha closes the door after saying in a robotic manner that they cannot tell the Justice League what they found. As Pyrrha closes the door, Jean cries out. And so does Springy.
And so yeah, um, yeah, um,
Oh.
the twice in like the same month we had Pyrrha backstab
Mm.
Jean, literally and metaphorically.
Yes.
It's like, come on.
Uh,
I know I asked for
wait,
more
let's.
for more like for more stuff with Jean and Pyrrha, but my God, I didn't mean this. Jesus Christ,
Oh.
I don't think any of us meant that. Um,
Yes.
that's my primary note. But then there was also the God, my brain. Um, my brain don't work well.
It's okay.
I had another note, but I forgot what it was. Other than Springy crying at the corner. Um,
Oh.
the God, what was it? What was I gonna say? I don't even. There's something somewhere about something. I'll remember it later. It's fine.
Okay. It's fine.
It's fine. Okay, so yeah. Whew.
Moving on. So that did wrap up the middle portion, or at least what I believe to be the middle portion of the film. That kind of, everybody's like in their own little groups and whatnot. Everybody's trying to figure out like what's the Grim? Is this like simulation? Like, is this place real or not? So, but really this is just leading up towards the end, which I'm gonna cover half and then Springy will do the other half. Fun, fun, fun.
Okay.
Alrighty, so back at the forest, the fighting is still continuing. Ruby says that this is not a familiar sight of a Grim rebooting. Uh, so they're really, really confused on what in the world is going on. Hi, Oliver. So let's see. So as they're fighting, Nora steps in, helps Ruby fight a little bit, and she approaches Ruby asking, what do you want me to help with? And I've always, Nora's kind of seen Ruby as a team leader and acknowledged her as a team leader. So, but then Superman steps in and, tries to give like commands and stuff, and Nora's just like, you're not the boss of me. And I was like, yes, queen. Yes, queen, go off. It would have been worth every single penny if she took her hammer and beat his little booty with it. I was like ready for that moment, but she runs off. And Superman and Ruby have a discussion, like, you don't have a moment to think, sometimes you gotta think on your feet, like really, really quickly. Superman thinks that it's his fault that he froze during the fight back on Earth. Uh, and whatnot. So Ruby saves the Flash. Superman has a flashback. and says that they need to talk uh, with the Flash and Ruby and whatnot. So, but as they're gonna have like their serious discussion, Nora managed to get caught by one of the large Grimm and is in his claw. Her aura breaks. Ren and Cyborg go to save Nora just as she's falling, and by then Ruby is attacked by a Grimm. Very dramatic moment. Way to start an ending. Let's see. It's gonna go ahead and go back to Weiss and Batman, who then find a program. And Weiss says she saw a similar system, and how if they get control, they can figure out what's going on. But then at that moment, more Grimm break into the Schnee Manor. It's like never-ending Grimm everywhere. Let's see. Batman says that they can't use dust, and Weiss retaliates with what is she supposed to do? Spit on them. So we have a little bit of a callback. Batman and Weiss are almost defeated by the Grimm until Yang, Blake, and Wonder Woman appear and help defeat the Grimm.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go back to the Green Lantern and Jean, and they're talking about Pyrrha and how he lost her. The walls in the closet start to close, and Green Lantern starts to have an anxiety attack, but Jean says he believes in the Green Lantern. Even though Green Lantern complains how she did not have her power, Jean says she is more than her fear and more than the ring. Let's see. So, yes, walls are closing in on them, Grimm and the Forest attacking, but everything seems okie dokie pokey at the Schnee Manor. So Yang and Blake ask Weiss for the story. They have Yang holding on to Yang's shoulder. I think that's supposed to be Blake's shoulder. Yeah, it's supposed to be Blake. Oop.
Yang hanging on to
Uh,
Yang's old shoulder.
yes. Just that talented. I like the line, been a long day and very tired, like talk to me this way. I'm gonna start using it from now on. Let's see. Weiss says that they are not on Remnant or on like the superheroes world, they're somewhere else. Wonder Woman. Uh-oh. Your thing's blocking me.
Good.
Move. Okay. Wonder Woman and Batman kind of have an awkward combo. They're just like standing there like, well, do you want to go in? Like, do you want to stay? And all this stuff. Weiss cuts in saying how he can come to Remnant. Batman introduces Weiss. Wonder Woman is not happy about the whole situation. That Batman's considering staying on Remnant. We'll put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
That it's like, he's like, I have powers now. I've never had powers before, never really cared, but on Remnant, he can make a difference and help others. So Batman is like a warrior. Weiss manages to get into the system at that point before they can further discuss more, and they see the group fighting the large two Grimm. A quick little moment of Jean and the Green Lantern as they're struggling to get out of the closet as it's closing in on them. Green Lantern in that moment figures out her semblance. She says a chant, and from there, they're able to get out.
Blackest day. Blackest
Alrighty,
night.
let's see. And then back at the forest, the fight continues. With Vixen fighting, the Flash runs past her, and she seems a bit perplexed because the Flash starts glitching. Ren
Mm-hmm.
and Cyborg are talking about the Grimm, how they just seem to be never ending. Superman is protecting Anora, who's unconscious. And then when things seem dire, Wonder Woman, Weiss, Blake, and Yang appear on bikes. Ruby goes to hug Weiss, saying that she's glad to see her. Superman and Wonder Woman are off fighting the Grimm. Green Lantern and Jean get to the group and say it is not real, but a virtual reality. Uh, and Jean starts to help amp Nora's aura. By then, Batman appears, and Jean kind of has a little fanboy moment. It's just like, whoa, so cool. Batman and Superman say that the Flash is the one in charge of what is going on. They've all kind of pieced together that Flash is somehow responsible for everything that's been happening. Batman says Flash is running one equation based on the sequences that were given because he's been getting hurt and running slower and is the true villain, Kilgore. So all has been revealed.
Bum. A character I've never heard of before. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, really? Kilgore? No. The true identity has been revealed. Kilgore says that they are trapped with the Justice League into the digital world and used dust to power it. Somewhat explaining why all the Grimm kept eating it, kept just powering the simulation that they're in. He explains that while fighting, Batman sees finger twitching from the Flash. Batman sees he is trapped in this world. Kilgore says he did this all alone. Yet Kilgore says he gave him the idea, which means that there is someone else in charge, or at
Ah.
least sharing the charge. Kilgore talks to Ruby, saying how she is the child pretending to be a leader, and because because Ruby has enough doesn't have enough trauma,
Mhm.
adds on. Superman says not to listen to Kilgore, how it's not about age, about your heart, and all the cheesiness, and
Mhm.
you will fail, Freeze, but that's what makes you alive. Why says she would fight with Ruby in a battle any day, in any battle. Ha ha ha. Weiss manages to separate Flash from Kilgore. No, Batman knows his Flash was using Morse code with his finger tapping that I talked about earlier, letting him know that he was still in there. Oh my god. Now we're on to the final battle. One last battle. As
Oh
Kilgore
boy.
enters the Wyvern Grim. Flash gives Vixen and Green Lantern their missing items. Most of the fighters use motorbikes to fight. Yeah, epic bike shots. Nora is back in action and better than ever. Green Lantern makes pure weapons, which makes Springy cry. Uh, all fighting, also fighting smaller Grim, need to fight the larger Grim. A new plan to get Green Lantern and Jean to get them to the bigger Grim, because the
Mhm.
bigger Grim, the Wyvern, at this point, um, has Kilgore within him, in them, it. I don't know the gender of this specific Grim. I'm sorry.
Okay.
They plan a new way of trying to get them over there. Superman asks Ruby for a plan, and she says, "Yes, there is a plan."
Oh.
So there starts to be an epic fight scene of most of the group teaming up. Yang, Cyborg, Blake, Nor all of them on bikes, trying to fight off and distract the bigger Wyvern Grim. Um, Ruby using her semblance, getting Green Lantern and Jean to a distinct place to take down Kilgore. Batman, Flash, and Superman take down Grim. Blake, Vixen, Vixen, and Blake. I assume that's Blake, Vixen, and Yang. Take on
Oh,
uh
whoops. Goodness me.
take on as a team together. Green Lantern, Jean, and Ruby got to the destination, and Green Lantern used her semblance, quote unquote, to take out Kilgore. Wonder Woman asks which world Batman will choose, and Nora. Okay, sorry, not Yang. Yang was off doing something else. Um, no, it's not. Oh my god, my reading. Okay, hold on. What? Oh my god, you're changing things. I'm reading.
Sorry, sorry, I'll go down
No, I was
here.
doing that same. I was doing that same thing to you, so it's fine. Uh, which world he'll choose? He says he is a warrior no matter what world he is in. Cause I'm like that would have been the perfect place to say I am Batman. Like I mean, come on, come on. He's like in any world I am Batman.
Eh.
Na 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 na. Back at the Schnee Manor Dust Lab. Uh, after the fight got finished, Cyborg, Ren, and Nora say their goodbyes. Woman says she understands why they fight, so no one has to grow up like them. And Blake says that it is nice to kick ass. The first time someone said ass in a Ruby thing was done by Blake
Woohoo.
Baltana. Uh, Blake Yang and Wonder Woman share a hug. Green Lanterns opens two different portals, one to the Justice League's headquarters in the DC universe, and the other leading to Atlas. Everyone walks through the respective portals or doors. The screen then shows Ruby in her Atlas outfit and everyone else in the Atlas outfit, wearing a VR headset as she wakes up, gasping. Everyone says they had a weird experience. Blake wonders if it wasn't the training mission, like there wasn't the correct training mission. Ruby realizes that someone else created it from their world and created the simulation. As the others stand in front of her, it does not get found out.
Dun, dun,
We
dun.
do not know who this
Cliffhanger.
person is yet, because part one. So obviously, it's gonna be a part two. Um.
Mhm.
So yeah. Yeah.
That's
That's the
it.
movie. That's the movie.
Yay!
There's no cutscenes
Woohoo!
in the movie. Sadly, there's no cutscenes for Volume 10. That would have been funny. Um. And Jen sighs and cries. Um.
I
But
got a little bit of Nora content.
you
I'll
got a
take
little
it.
bit of Nora in here. It's fine. Uh. Yeah. That was the movie. Jen, before we get into our final thoughts and reviews,
Yeah.
uh, what is one of your final thoughts? Like, what is there something you want to say about the back half of the movie or anything, or
Oh.
about the section I read?
Uh, Not really. In true typical Ruby fashion, they tend to save the fights towards the end, whether it's in
Mm-hmm.
the series or in the books even. They kind of save that last epic battle for the end, and it does go by quickly. It's like you blink and you miss it type of thing. So you definitely want to be paying attention to what's going on. But yeah, I enjoyed the fighting. I really enjoyed the soundtrack in the background. Just the characters working together, trying to figure it out. And that cliffhanger was just like, wait, they're like, it has to be volume 7.
Yeah.
Like, somewhere in that Atlas montage, I believe in episode 3 or 4, like, they probably did do like a training mission, like through VR and whatnot. So I feel
Yeah.
like it was probably during that whole thing. So I was just like, oh, like, what's gonna happen? And then it was like fade to black, end credits. It's like, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it. So, what were your thoughts?
Um. So I thought I heard something. Losing my mind. I really enjoyed it. I know there's a lot of complaints about it, but like I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing the characters that like I knew from growing up, meeting the characters I've grown to love more recently.
Mm,
It was very cool. I know that I was also one of the ones who was like very confused about the like inconsistencies that were shown within the trailers. I was like,
mm,
why? Mainly the Yang thing,
yeah.
mainly, because that's the main thing. You can really, it's a visual thing. But
Mhm,
also that Batman now has wings of his little bat ears, which I thought was really cool as well.
yeah.
Gives a canon esque thing showing
Mhm,
that they can have wings.
yeah.
That Fonses can in fact have wings, and something that we didn't point out that like Batman and Vixen are both Fonses in this world.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, now I guess we just get into some of our final thoughts, and Jen, I'll let you go first since your final thoughts are more written out and well explained.
Not really, but okay, thanks. And thanks for dealing with the whole script thing. I know I
It's
kind of
fine.
write incomplete sentences, so thanks
It's
for
fine.
sticking with me.
It's fine. I didn't have
uh,
anything written down. It's fine.
uh, let's see. So yes, some of my final thoughts are I like the differences with the Grim. They seemed a lot stronger, like more evolved. It wasn't just like, oh, like one hit and done type of thing. Like they were able to fight back a bit. Um, and also having the lasers was pretty cool. It was like, yeah, this isn't typical. So it is different to
Hmm.
see. I feel like most of the beginning was kind of Ruby 101, where it's like, explain dust and aura and semblances, which I believe the team of Kirby put together like small video clips explaining everything. So you
Hmm.
can check out those videos on their YouTube. But yeah, I felt like lots of time spent making intros, just like this is so and so, this is so and so. It's like, why couldn't you all just meet up in one room and be like, all right, we all know each other. Go back to your respective places and we'll meet up later. Like, gosh. Uh, yeah, and then the whole Bruce slash Batman situation, like wondering if he should stay based on him having powers. I was wondering too, is there like romance between him and Wonder Woman? Like, seemed a
Sometimes,
little suggestive. It's like, no thanks. So, but
depending on the
yeah.
continuity, yes and no.
hmm The other thing I should have added too when we were reading this the review and stuff, just like him and Weiss interacting, just like you should stay on Remnant, you should stay on Remnant. Well, explain why. Like why should you stay on Remnant, even though you're not in Remnant and you both kind of know. Just like what makes you want him to stay. So I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like they were using Weiss a lot for like the beginning as trying to make Batman have
hmm
that problem, that conflict
Yeah,
within himself of
she didn't really
if
need
he
to. They
should
could
he
have.
stay or should he go? Do, 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 do.
Yeah. Yeah, they should have talked more about like his home and like his rich upbringing and stuff. And I
Hmm.
feel like the loneliness, maybe. I feel like that would have been really good for them to talk about. Like maybe because I think there is this scene in volume 5 where like Weiss talks to Yang about like, I know loneliness, but it's a different type. And I feel like I
Different
don't know
color.
much about Batman and Bruce, but like him talking about like loneliness and after his parents passed away and all this stuff, like what
Hmm.
that felt like to him. I feel like that would have been a lot better. Then she could have been like, "Well, you could stay and we could bond and fight monsters together
We
and
can
stuff
be
like that."
lonely
Like
together,
exactly. So
like
that
in Ruby
that would
TV.
have been a little bit stronger in my opinion. That's just my
Hmm.
opinion. Not saying it's fine, but that's just Jen and how Jen thinks and writes out stuff. Actually, I might go write that later. So, um, let's see. So yes, I enjoyed the music very much. Very good soundtrack. Lots of epic pieces, especially that last battle one was very
Hmm.
good. The Warriors one is very good. We see different forms of Grim. It seemed like new powers being activated for the Ruby team, and there was also like new fighting moves. It wasn't. I mean, there was like some traditional fighting moves and stuff, but there was like different ones, like
Yeah,
the glyph cage. Like that was new and different. I was like, whoa, I've never seen that before, and so I like how they gave us like new different things, something that Ruby fans haven't seen before. It kept it very interesting.
I do
Um,
agree.
hmm Let's see. And then this whole kids thing, like, oh, you're a kid, like, don't tell me what to do, like, and all this stuff. It was just like, all right, this is getting repetitive and boring, for
Yeah,
being honest.
I get that.
But I'm wondering, I mean, we don't know for a fact. This is just Jen musing out loud, thinking her thoughts. But I wonder if General Ironwood set up like this simulation to explain like how young and impressionable they all are still, that it's just let the adults still handle this, like you guys are still pretty young, like going back to volume 1 when they were just training and all this stuff. So
Hmm.
I don't know, just felt like that. And then trying to figure out who this he is that Kilgore through Flash said, like, well, he had this idea, but even though he was like saying, or like Flash was saying, like, oh, it was all my idea, but he had a hand in this too. It was like, well, who is he? Is it Watts? Is it General Ironwood? Is there a whole new villain? Like, I need answers.
Yeah, because one of the another possible person is Dr. Merlot from the Grim Eclipse games. Some
Ooh.
people
I
are speculating about him because they can use him in whatever capacity they want. They could say he's got locked up, and they won't, you know, mess with the main Ruby story at all. Because I do
Mhm,
agree with you where the I am the adult here thing kind of
yeah.
got a little repetitive and stuff. But
hmm
being a person who works with kids, I can understand it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not completely, because it's a very
Mhm,
different situation. But
mhm,
like it does seem that's very repetitive, but they should have noticed more like, okay, obviously they are kids, but
mhm.
they've been fighting these things longer than we have. Type like I
Yeah.
some things could have been adjusted a little bit, but that goes for any piece of media.
Mhm.
But I did
Makes
like
sense.
the Ruby 101 type of thing that you were talking about earlier, just
Yeah.
because this movie wasn't marketed just to Ruby fans. It was marketed
Mm,
to also Justice League fans. That's like
mhm.
heck, DC has a big name just stamped
Oh,
in the
yeah.
corner of this movie, and Rooster Teeth is nowhere on here on this poster
Oh, I
on
never
the
even
cover.
noticed. Huh.
So a DC animated movie, like everything's labeling it as it is a
Mhm.
Justice League movie that happens to have Ruby elements in it. It's
Mhm.
superheroes and Huntsmen. Justice
Mhm.
League X RWBY. DC,
Mhm.
DC, DC, DC. And even though it's in the RWBY animated style, it's
Mhm.
mainly in RWBY's universe, or at least the
Mhm.
rules are mainly RWBY. They
Mhm.
so it's obviously directed more towards Justice League fans to get them to
Mhm.
watch RWBY.
Yes.
So that's 100%, at least in my mind, why they did that kind of like once
Mhm.
over of this is what this is, this is what this is, this is what this is. These are the primary three things you really need to know about, and that's about it. That you
Mm.
need to get caught up with their universe and what Grimm are. Those are the primary four things, you know.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And it made sense narratively as well. You know, they were
Mm.
going to Beacon, which is a school that teaches this exact thing.
Yeah.
These are people who are not from this world, so they don't know what the hell's going on. You know,
Yeah. Mm.
Um, but as a whole, I do think it's really cool. I am excited for part two because I know at one
Same.
point in the comics, I had not fully caught up on it. I just know from like screenshots of it and stuff. I want to get caught up on it though. Um,
Yeah.
that at one point the main Ruby girls go into the Justice League world and they have whole new outfits
Ooh.
and everything. There's a joke about some of them wanting to be named like Marvel characters.
Mhm. Aw.
um, like naming themselves something, but they're actually Marvel characters or something, or they're other DC characters. Like Blake wanted to be
Mhm.
called Catwoman
Oh my gosh.
and stuff like that. And they have whole new
Yeah.
outfits and everything. So I'm really interested if they're gonna go that route. If they're gonna
Mhm.
just if the Justice League people are going to come in, like actually come to Ruby's world. If Batman's gonna
Mhm.
have his ears next time or not. You know what I mean? There's a lot of
Yeah.
things that could happen that assuming
Mhm.
like actually going into the world that they change it to how it is in the comics or not. If they don't, I'm
Yeah.
fine with it because I like the wings.
Mhm.
I personally like the wings. Um, and
Yeah.
I know I have a friend who really did not like the motivations of Batman in this. They really didn't like how he was portrayed.
Aw.
Um, like with the but I always thought because like, this isn't Batman got younger, like it's just his body. A lot of this can also be summed up is like their mental state is also younger as well.
Mhm.
Like they
Yeah.
remember everything, but like their mental state also decreased to being a about to be 20-year-old type of thing.
Mm.
That's my reasoning behind like why Batman seems to be so much not different, but like so much younger and much more like I'm thinking about staying than
Yeah.
he would in any other thing or whatever.
Mm.
I thought it was
Makes
fine. I
sense.
thought it was
Yeah.
fine. I thought it was cool. Because you had to have one of them do it, and Batman made the most sense because he
Yeah.
gained something from this. Everybody else kind of like lost something. He was the only one who really gained anything
Mhm.
from this. He gained wings. He gained the power, and because like Superman got nerfed, Wonder Woman got nerfed. Everybody pretty much got nerfed in one way or another from their status of Justice League nonsense. Really.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, and this also does show that like this I I am a bit of a DC fan, but not as big as other people. Um,
Aw.
that one of the biggest complaints some people had about the Batman thing was that he has a family at home. He has what's known as
Mm.
the Bat family. So obviously this was before that.
Mm.
I'm also putting that in the headcanon as well because it's like because that's what people were complaining about. I'm like, dude, just calm down.
Yeah.
It's Batman
That's
and Ruby. You're looking too far into it, man.
Mhm.
But yeah, altogether I did enjoy it. I am happy that every little like critique that like people that the trailer that people had about the trailer got resolved. Everything it made
Mm.
sense why Yang didn't have her arm in this. It made
Mm.
sense why we didn't see Oscar or Pyrrha at all. So like everybody's like,
Yeah.
is this
Was
before? Is this after? Ruby Yang has no
mm.
arms. Is after, but like she had an outfit later on. That was the main trying to think of like what's going on here, you know.
Yeah. Mhm.
But altogether, I did enjoy it. Um,
I did too. And I'm looking forward to part two and figuring out all these little mysteries. I'm tempted to look into getting the comics, but I'm just like, I don't know where to get them, how to get them.
Kindle
Like,
on Amazon. Um,
not
just
sponsored.
read them on your phone. Um, yeah, not sponsored. But it's a very different story as well for the comics and stuff like that.
Yeah. So
Most
I'm
of the
like, I don't
designs
know
are
if
the
they'll
same, but
wait and see. See when
yeah,
this is coming out. Hopefully we don't have to wait like 2 or 3 years, but
yeah.
we'll see.
Well, it's like Warner Brothers and DC. They don't usually make people wait that long.
It's good.
You know what I mean? So not usually, as far as I know, but like, um, but yeah. Jen, is there any other last minute thoughts? Oh wait, we wanted to go through their designs a little bit as well, and we said
Uh,
at the end
yeah, we can do that.
we don't know much about Kilgore, so we're gonna skip him. So
Okay.
Cyborg, what between the two, you can
Uh,
just go with the Ruby one because that
yeah, I might go with the
so
Ruby one
because
because
we're just gonna stick with that because everybody else is just like very comic accurate type of thing. So
yeah.
what do you think about Cyborg's design in this movie?
I thought it was decent. You know, whenever I think Cyborg, I think of Teen Titans, like the earlier,
Oh
not the
yeah,
new
the
crappy animation, but like the old
yeah, I know what you
school
mean.
Teen Titans. So I feel like they did a really great job, like all the different colors and stuff. So
Mm-hmm. I
wasn't too surprised.
I do agree with that. Um, they definitely did make his arm, like his robot arm right here, much more
Hmm.
Yang like because that's how the technology in this universe looks as an arm,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and much less tech based because he has a lot more flesh tones everywhere
Hmm.
than just seeing him here make him look more like not the Terminator, like RoboCop
Yeah, yeah.
or Vixen, and also her tail is like somewhere around here.
They kept the colors the same as her
Mm-hmm.
original. I'm guessing that's a jumpsuit. But
Seems
in
like it.
the show, it kind of looks like a top vest, short sleeve piece with the pants. So,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but yeah, they gave her a tail, which I thought was pretty cool. She didn't seem
Mm-hmm.
very happy by it though, but yeah, she didn't change too much from her design, so
Yeah, definitely just
but it's
mainly younger and no necklace in this picture and in most of the film. That's why it's but like
hmm.
that's because plot reasons.
I think I labeled her in the notes like Harriet 2.0 or something, because it was like giving me like Harriet vibes from like the Aesops and stuff.
Oh, I can see that. I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
So next, the one the internet is obsessed with.
Yes. She's cute. She slowly has grown on me. I didn't like her whiny character before, but I do
Mm-hmm.
like her design. I love her hair, how it's like green underneath and stuff. So, and, like, definitely like it's funny how she's like, I need my ring because it has the symbol, and it's like you have symbols on your gloves, on your shirt, probably on your pants and stuff. Like, but
Yeah.
yeah, I thought it was very casual, very cute. Just like this is Green Lantern.
Yep. Excuse me. Sorry. Now we're on to the Flash, and I'm
Mhm.
not putting my opinions because I agree with you a lot, and me just saying I agree, I agree, I agree.
You're fine.
Seems weird.
I disagree.
I disagree.
Uh, I like the zipper in the front, how it kind of represents like the flash and stuff. That was really creative. Let me see what else. I'm a little bit confused about the bandana. I feel like if you're running, that would just like blow into your face or something. Maybe if they were in vacuo or something, that would make sense because then you can like put it around your mouth and then the glasses would cover. But
Mm-hmm.
overall, I was just like really confused by that. Everything else was decent, so.
Yeah. So, and as a cosplayer, Jen, how functional do you think this zipper is?
I mean, badly do you need to get out of that jacket? I mean, I'm sure it's functional. You just gotta have some patience with it.
Maybe you need like multiple zippers. Like it zips to here, then
Oh,
zips to here,
goodness,
then zips to here, to here,
be
to
so
here.
annoying.
It's like multiple zippers, and it's just like so
No.
you have like these dangly bits, like one under here, one here, one here, one here.
You'd have to get like at least two of like the super long one. I forget how long it goes up to, like 20, 25 inches, and then just like, oh no, ugh. That's such a
Yeah.
nightmare. Why did you bring that up? I'm gonna have nightmares tonight of zippers everywhere.
Zippers. Uh,
Oh
so
god.
next up is the Bat.
Batman.
The Batman.
Can't do it.
Batman.
What about these people in scarves? It's Beacon. Like it's not that cold. Maybe if it was like fall time, which I do love Beacon in the fall. It's very, very pretty. Uh,
Hmm.
maybe the scarves would make sense, but they don't.
Like,
Yeah,
in my
pretty
opinion.
typical.
Oh, sorry. I was
Go
gonna
ahead.
say the
Hmm.
scarf with Batman makes more sense because of cape. Like it kind
No.
of like simulating that, also the wings. But with Barry,
Hmm.
I agree. It's like it's
Yeah,
go.
don't need that.
It's all right.
No, you're fine. Kind of. I don't know. I guess it's kind of what I'm expecting. Not a lot of color, very dark. Batman symbol on the front. I did notice when I was rewatching a couple days ago, he
Hmm.
has a scar on the right side of his eye, and Weiss has one on her left side. So it's kind of flipped. I don't know. I thought that was interesting. But
I agree. The armor
yeah.
definitely makes me think more of like the Apocalypse Batman or whatever it's called from
Hmm.
like the Justice League movie and some Batman vs Superman and all that. Because like it has much more of these like brighter gray tan tones in it and stuff. So it makes me
Hmm.
think of that a lot. So I do enjoy that like they did. I was thinking the yellow belt here,
Oh.
the only splash of color, but and then
Hmm.
they took it away.
Yeah. No color.
Uh, no color for you. But yeah, and the bat symbol also goes out and onto his shoulder pads as well.
Oh
Is
yeah.
something else I noticed, which is very cool. And then
Hmm.
wings. I think the wings fit him much more than the little bat ears that they gave him in the comics. I think this fits him much
Yeah.
better. Maybe since the ear thing can be resolved with semblance, and then
Mm.
the wings can be flying and also cape. And then Wonder Woman.
Yeah. Yeah, they use a lot of the same colors over on her teenage self. I do like the muscles. Gotta have that representation. Was so happy to see that. Uh, but yeah, she was definitely one of my favorite character designs. If I had the confidence, I would cosplay her, but I don't, so I just admire from afar.
At least it's more modest than this one.
That's true. Very, very true.
If you want to be a Wonder Woman and you want to be somewhat more modest compared to this one's the one
There you
for you.
go. Ta-da!
Ta-da! But yeah, I also agree with that. It's very similar. It's just basically you took this and you put it in the RWBY style. That's very much what happened in this case. They took this, made it in the RWBY style, done. Replaced her armband, like the
Yeah.
bicep bands with this one blue one right here, which I don't
Yeah.
know where that came from, but I like it. It's nice. It's nice. It looks nice. Everything looks good.
Yeah.
And then there's Superman.
Woohoo. Yeah.
I like
I
how they
get they're
kept the
trying to
hair
make
girl.
him look. I know, so jealous. I like how they do try to make him a bit younger. Like, oh, we'll give him a snazzy jacket and, his chest plate, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's symbolic and all that. But yeah, I mean, he looks more like a preteen adolescent than like 16, 17. Like he's more, to me, he looks more like 14, 15. It's like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but or maybe it's just this photo. Maybe in other shots he might look a bit older, but he's decent.
Yeah. Yeah. I just do really agree. Like I really like this. This seems like it'd be very heavy, but it works for Superman because Superman. I really love the jacket. I wish I had this jacket.
You know.
This is a very and it has a cape attached to it too. It's like this is the
Okay.
jacket Springy needs. Jen, get on it. Um, go.
Jeez.
Uh, but see, like with most of the designs, like this one, they didn't just be like, okay, now it's in RWBY. You know, with
Yeah.
Wonder Woman, they did basically just be like, they took this, slapped the RWBY art style on it, and we're done. With Superman, they actually they give a, it seems to me, more thought into his design than some of the other ones. Like it's like, because if they did like a carbon copy like they did, like this would be red. There'd be a lot more color on his shield right here.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe it could have been. Like they could have used the blue, like for the red, use like blue or something, or
Yeah,
even like a lighter yellow, so it stood out a bit more. And it's not just like, oh, it's there. It's like make it stand out. I don't know.
yeah.
Ugh.
Excuse me, I'm so sorry. But yeah, I really, altogether, I did enjoy the movie. I know, like I kept saying, critiques, and I'm just going to the final page because it looks better for a final thought thing. Um, I really enjoyed it, and I am also excited for part two.
Yay, me too.
So I guess with that, thank you, Jen, for being here. I do highly appreciate it as always.
Yes, thank you for having me. Boop, boop.
Yes. And with that, hopefully there'll be news either on this or for Volume 10 at the next RTX that's coming up
Yeah.
here soon. So fingers crossed on that. But other than that, I hope you all have a nice rest of your day. And at least I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.
Bye.